So today I'm going to be talking about purification of the body. And as Geshe Sopa points out, the Buddha was very kind to us. He condensed all of the negativities that we can do into 10. So not 21, not 108, not our favorite number, 111,111, but 10. And I think that's so that we can, feel that we can have some sort of success with purification, thinking that there's 10 and not many more. So let's see what it says in the sadhana about this part of the practice. Your disturbing attitudes and negativities in general, and particularly those of the body, take the form of black ink. Sickness takes the form of pus and blood, and afflictions caused by spirits appear in the form of scorpions, snakes, frogs, and crabs, flushed out by the light and nectar. They all leave your body through the lower openings like filthy liquid flowing from a drain pipe. Feel completely empty of these problems and negativities. They no longer exist anywhere. So as Venerable Chodron reminded us, it was the very first talk of the retreat. When we're thinking of this visualization, let's not think of those things being inside us, like the scorpions and all of that. When I first heard this practice and I was learning it at Cloud Mountain, that's what I thought. I thought they were inside me. And I thought, gross, this is a really gross practice. I don't want to do it. So don't do that. We're just visualizing it and they're coming out like that. And then they're going into the Lord of Death, who has his mouth wide open and is taking them in. And then at the end of that purification session, his mouth closes and it's sealed shut with a double dorje, and he goes away with our negativities. He doesn't leave them underneath us somewhere. So let's keep that in mind. That's just a technique reminder. Okay. So these 10 negativities are divided into 3 groups, and the 3 I'm talking about today are those of the body. So they're killing, stealing, and sexual misconduct. When Geshe Wangdak was here a number of years ago, he was talking about purification, and he made the point over and over again that when we're thinking of what we want to purify, be very, very specific. So bring to mind, who was there, try and remember the exact words that were said, what we did, where it took place, everything. And as I went back and reviewed what's going on when we do these things, I see how excellent that advice is. And to be more specific, it's really good to check up in the Lam Rim about what's involved with each one of these actions. So, Lama Tsongkhapa says that for any action to be complete, bringing the heaviest karmic results, there must be 4 elements or branches present. The object, the complete intention, which is divided into 3, and that includes a correct recognition of the object, the intention to do the action, an affliction, and then the actual action and the culmination of the action. So if any of these are missing when we do a negativity, the karmic weight is not as heavy. Now, when I first heard this, I thought, so Buddhists have a way of getting off lighter. And I thought, this is kind of, not so good. But that's not the point of this. The point of this is knowing what's going on in our mind when we do these negativities. So if we don't hear the teachings on the negativities of the body, for example, we may think, I have thought in the past, well, I'm a pretty good person. I haven't killed anyone. I haven't stolen anything, at least not where the law would be involved. And I haven't done anything, with my sexual conduct that again would involve, charges being pressed. So I think I'm going to sort of skip over these and get to the negativities of speech and mind. And, well, as we look further into the Lam Rim, it's not quite like that. Not at all. So I'm going to start with killing. The first branch in killing is the object. And in killing, it must be another living sentient being. And from the Buddhist point of view, as we all know, killing any sentient being, even the tiniest insect, is killing. So I'm going to go off on a bit of a tangent for a moment. We all grew up in households, I think, that contained weapons of mass destruction. And so I think when we say that word on the World Wide Web, we may get the CIA listening in and the FBI, and that's a good thing. If they listen to a Dharma talk today, that's good. And in Canada, we call it CSIS, but they're not as... Anyway. So the weapon of mass destruction that I'm thinking of is this. And did anyone else grow up in a household that had this? Okay, so I'm going to say what it is, because I know if people are transcribing these talks, the visuals don't work. So, in Espanol, it is matamoscas. Matamoscas. In German, it's Fliegenklatsche. And in English, at least in Canada, it's fly swatter. Do you call it something else here in the States? Fly swatter. Okay, so there's a big problem with these words right off the bat. At least the Spanish people and the Germans are honest about it. Mata means kill. So this is killing flies. Fliegenklatsche, this is killing flies. In English, fly swatter. Well, what are we doing? Tickling them? You know, giving them a little blessing? So now we're in denial about what we're actually doing. Well, this weapon of mass destruction that I grew up with, we're killing them. At least that's what I was taught to do. So there's some things to purify here. So the second branch is the complete intention. One must recognize the sentient being that you want to kill. So for example, if I want to kill a spider with the broom, because I'm irritated, and I'm not a Buddhist at this point, of course, but I see the spider and I have aversion, and I go to smack it, and just when I come down on the floor with the broom, I hit a fly instead. It's an incomplete action. Yes, I killed something, but I didn't kill a spider. So we have to actually kill the sentient being that we had in mind to kill. And then the motivation or the intention to actually do it. There has to be a motivation present. There is always, obviously. So if we kill a living being by accident, for example, there's no intention to do the killing. So that motivation is missing. So the causal motivation that propels us to kill can be due to one of the following afflicted states. In the case of us wanting to eat meat or fish, it's likely desire. If we're wanting to harm somebody, then the motivation is anger, the afflicted state, I'm sorry. And then if we're involved in doing animal sacrifice, then the afflicted state is ignorance. And Venerable Chodron also has taught that usually what's present in killing is the afflicted state of anger. There's the wish to destroy. But often it can start off with ignorance or attachment. The actual action in killing is killing a sentient being, either with poison or mantras or weapons, something. The actual action, it doesn't matter if you do the action of killing or you have someone else do it. Both of these constitute a complete karma. So for example, one of my dad's friends in Alberta is a guide and outfitter. He's done this for decades. And what he does every year is he takes people into the mountains, into these very gorgeous places. And people from all over the world know about this guy. They pay him a lot of money, I'm pretty sure. And they go out looking for trophy animals. And so the hunters have to buy a special license. They pay a huge amount to get to Rocky Mountain House, is where they start off, and they go into the mountains. And they look for these, rams or bighorn sheep or a grizzly bear. And then, if they're successful and the killing happens, and my dad's friend also gets the karmic result of that killing. So interestingly enough, this friend of my dad's is already experiencing the results. He's having very serious health issues that actually the doctors can't diagnose. So something to keep in mind. The culmination of the action happens when the sentient being dies before us. So, for example, if I go to swat the fly with the weapon of mass destruction, and I hit it, but it doesn't die immediately, and I have a heart attack and die before the fly does, well, that's not a complete action, and hopefully the fly doesn't die. And then again, if I hit it and the fly is injured but doesn't die, it's not a complete action. I may have intended to kill it, but it didn't die. Killing someone accidentally is not a complete action of killing. Also, if we're coerced to kill, it's not a complete action. So back to my experience of killing insects, I grew up in a household where the fly swatter was just, a tool that was around the house. We did it all the time. I don't remember enjoying it. I just have been thinking about it a lot. I don't remember enjoying it, but I did it. And then some of us can say, well, it's not my fault, it's my parents' fault. They taught me to do it. Well, let's give our parents a break. We were born into that household because of our karmic actions in the past, and they're just doing their best. And the same with them, they grew up in households where they were taught to do that. So let's take responsibility where it's due and really take it to heart. And then another example of killing in my lifetime is that I grew up in a household where this didn't happen a lot, fortunately, but my godmother really liked fishing. So we're a whole bunch of Catholics going fishing on Fridays. That's what Catholics do. They eat fish on Fridays. So I saw nothing wrong with this. And we'd go to this very beautiful creek called Prairie Creek. And what I loved about it was that it was always a beautiful day, because you can't catch fish when the wind is blowing. They don't bite. So it was warm, it was beautiful. We'd go for a picnic. We'd take the family dog. Everyone was peaceful because you're not supposed to shout around fish. So it was just, idyllic, except we're all out killing fish. And I always handed off the fish to someone else to kill. But, in my mind as a kid, I thought, this is virtuous, because my family didn't have much money. And I thought, here we are as kids, we're helping our parents put food on the table. Isn't that a good thing? And there you go with ignorance, right? And also I was enamored of the North American Indians and the fact that they would go out and fish and just take what they needed and they'd feed their families. So I saw it all as virtuous at that time. I didn't have a clue. Okay, stealing. So the object is stealing an object that is owned by others. And this includes taxes, fares, toll fees, anything we're supposed to pay and we don't. It includes taking something that has not been given to us or offered, as Venerable says it. I think it's very clear. Something that has not been offered. It also can be something that somebody has lost. So if they've given up on it, this is interesting. If they've given up on the object and we find it, apparently the karmic result for us is not as great. But if they're still very attached to that object and we find it and we take it and we don't try and turn it in or find the owner, well, then the karmic result is heavier. The second branch of stealing is the complete intention, the thought. The perception at the time of stealing must be unmistaken. So, for example, if I go out into the yard and I intend to steal Heraldina, the truck, and by accident I take the Meinhofer, I haven't completed the complete action of stealing from the Abbey. And the next part is intention. We intend to steal the object. So sometimes our motivation can be anger when we're stealing. And I remember hearing about a number of my friends actually who were suddenly fired at their job. And in a fit of rage, on the way out the door, they might have had an hour to leave, clean your desk, give me your keys, there's the door. On their way out, they would take things. They were so enraged. So we can see how the mind can shift. And these are people that would normally not steal, not at all. Oh, and here's a favorite one. I know all kinds of people who would say to me, I'm a middle class income earner, I pay all of these taxes, the rich don't pay, I'm cheating on my income tax. The government is ripping me off left, right, and center, I'm not going to claim all these things. And so that's stealing. Or another favorite one I hear about, and it's happened to me too, except I've been honest except for one time, but the cashier hands back change. And it's inaccurate. She's giving us too much money. And there's one time I didn't point it out. And I have worked on that one, I can tell you. Some people rejoice. The third action or branch is doing the actual action. Again, it doesn't matter if we do the act of stealing or we have someone else do it. We're still creating the karma. A more subtle form of stealing is borrowing money from someone with no intention of ever returning it. And the culmination of stealing is the thought, now I have it. Or if you have someone else steal for you, the moment that the thief thinks, now I have it, then the karmic action is complete. So this is getting kind of lengthy. I think what I should do right now is I think I'll stop here and I'll continue next day. And you can think about that. Well, maybe I'll just tell one quick story and then we'll continue. This story is quite frightening actually, because it's an example of me stealing when I was 4 years old. And this can show us the example of how karmic seeds are not lost. They're carried on to future lives and they propel us into things and we have no control. So I remember this clearly. I was 4 years old. This was a premeditated act of stealing. I had planned it out. In fact, I started planning it the day before. And it is just, it's so clear in my mind. So I knew that I was going to tell my mom that I was going to go and play with my friend Teresa Towers, who lived 2 doors down. I had this all planned out. So the day of the crime, I got up early and I went to my mom's purse and I dug in her wallet and I got a quarter, 25 cents. And then, as usual, we had breakfast and she gets me ready to go and play with Teresa Towers. And she's combing my hair and she says, so what are you going to do with Teresa today? And I said, oh, I don't know. We're going to probably play in a yard. Off I go. But I don't go to Teresa Towers. I continue to downtown Rocky. And I'm 4 years old and it's about 8:30 in the morning. And so I'm headed to a Chinese cafe on Main Street with this quarter. And I know that I want to buy and eat more candy bar. So the route I take is really not a good route, because on the way down there, I go past my grandparents' house. And so, but it's really interesting. You know, at 4 years old, I wasn't very tall, so I thought, oh, they're not going to see me when they look out the window anyway. So I'm going down the street, and lo and behold, who pulls up in front of the house on the other side of the street but my grandfather? You know, I'm alone, it's 8:30 in the morning, and he just waves to me, and I wave back, and I just keep going. And I go, okay, I missed that. I just, you know, the first hurdle has been passed. And so, for some reason, he didn't phone my parents. Did you know your daughter's we're heading downtown? So then I continue on, and I make my way to the Chinese cafe, except I have to jaywalk. Because my father's business is 2 doors down from the Chinese cafe, but I know that my dad isn't there yet, so no problem. So I get into the Chinese cafe and there's this huge display case, and I don't intend to steal the candy bar because I've got the money. I just remember spotting it and I say to the guy, I want that, and I give him the money and he gives me the change, and I'm so happy. So now I'm on my way home. And I'm up the block, oh, I don't know, I think I'm at the corner by this big hotel, and all of a sudden I see this car zoom in and come to a screeching stop, and out comes the public health nurse, and her name is Velma Day, an old family friend, and I think, okay, it's over, I'm busted. And sure enough, the whole town by this time is looking for me. Now, you know, it's not the era where people need to worry about kidnapping kids. It was a town of less than 3,000, but everybody knows everyone. So by this time, my mom is on the phone. I'm not at Teresa Towers playing with Teresa. Where is this kid? So the town is out looking. And it's the public health nurse who finds me. And she's very, very nice. She doesn't say anything to me, but I know it's over. She says, hi, would you like a ride home? And I say, no thanks, I'd rather walk. And she says, I think it's good if you come with me. And so then I thought, it probably is. So anyway, she takes me home. And by this time, my mom's not there. But Teresa Towers' mom is in my house. And she's enraged. She even spanks me. So then I go and hide underneath my bed, and I vow to myself that never again will I steal or do anything that's, you know, in this realm. And I learned a big lesson. Yeah. So, the power of ripening karma and stealing. We need a lot. We need to think about a lot when we're purifying.